This episode is brought to you by Kia's first 3-row all-electric SUV, the Kia EV9, with available all-wheel drive and seating for up to 7 adults, with a 0 to 60 speed that thrills you 1 minute, and available reclining lounge seats that unwind you the next. Visit kia.com/EV9 to learn more. Ask your Kia dealer for availability. No system, no matter how advanced, can compensate for all driver error and or driving conditions. Always drive safely.
Make their Christmas unforgettable with goat guns. Looking for the perfect gift for your husband or man who is a gun lover? Look no further. Goat guns are the greatest gift of all time miniature gun models. They are the perfect blend of quality and detail. From pistols to rifles, there's a goat gun for every collector, history buff, or gamer. Whether for display or for a fun collecting hobby, goat guns will bring joy and excitement to him. Surprise your loved ones this Christmas with a goat gun, the ultimate gift that won't disappoint. Shop at goatguns.com.
Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast, your go-to source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development. We hope you tune in often for all things people management, organizational development and change, organizational leadership, and social impact related. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast. Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this HCI podcast episode, I talk with Charlie Hartwell about fostering your personal transformation and waking up your authentic self. Charlie Hartwell, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Hi, Jonathan. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have a chance to talk, and a fellow Utahn joining me today. You got the beautiful mountain landscape and your virtual background behind you, so that's wonderful. And Utah really is a beautiful place. Anyone who may be listening who's never been, we have so much visual geographic diversity here within the state, and lots of national parks, and just so much beauty, good snow to ski, just all sorts of good stuff. So if you ever make your way out to Utah, look us up, and maybe we can go out to lunch or something. But it's really a pleasure to have you, Charlie. Today we're going to be focusing on transformation, personal transformation, team and organizational transformation, and really what we can do individually and as leaders to wake up to our authentic self and help others on our teams do the same, creating a safe space for people to be authentic and to be mindful, and a focus on mental and physical wellness of our employees. As we get started, I just wanted to share Charlie's bio with everyone. Charlie Hartwell is the managing partner of Bridge Builders Collaborative, a group of highly successful investors who've been investing in startup companies in the space of mental wellness, consciousness, and spirituality. A Harvard Business School graduate, Charlie has served and led organizations in 14 different industries, including starting a nonprofit in the slums of Kenya in 1986 that has now served healthcare to several million patients. He also founded the first nonprofit expedition company in the U.S. In U.S. history to promote the Bancroft Arneson Expedition, a historical 17,000-mile crossing of Antarctica by two women who became the first to cross the continent on foot. Now Charlie and his company are passionate about supporting the growth of a new movement around mental fitness, heart-centered connection, consciousness evolution, and improved healthcare. Bridge Builders has invested in such companies as Pair Therapeutics, Insight Timer, Headspace, Happify, and others. So interesting. What a really unique and needed focus. As I was reading through your bio too, I was so curious why anyone would want to walk 17,000 miles across Antarctica is beyond me personally, but kudos to them. I mean, that's an amazing accomplishment. So anyways, you're doing great things. What else would you like to share by way of personal background before we jump into the conversation?
Well, just 2 points of clarification on the expedition. It was actually the first for-profit expedition company, and the explorers, Anne Bancroft and Lee Arneson, they skied 1,700 miles. I think that's a typo. They skied across the continent of Antarctica in 2001, and yeah. So I think the only thing that I'll share is not what I've done, but what I'm about. Really is about authentic leadership, innovation, growth, transformation, and it seems as though anything that I've been involved with in my career, when I authentically show up and bring those gifts that I have with me, that something's going to change. I don't necessarily know what's going to change, but but normally something does.
Yeah, and something positive usually. It's great to have a focus on growth and development, and I think most leaders. I am a believer that most people are good and want to do right by others. That most leaders want to be good for their people, that they want to serve their people, that they want to lead successful organizations that empower people. But we don't always know how to do that. And while it's not always rocket science, it does take a concerted, consistent effort over time, a real commitment to some of the basic elements that can allow us to create those types of healthy environments for our people. And it's challenging work because it never ends. You just have to be consistent at it forever. There's no workshop you can go to that's going to fix it. There's no there's no quick fix. And so I think helping leaders to be more aware of the need for this kind of work is really important, and then providing the tools to help leaders understand how they can create that environment, that dynamic within their teams is really vital. So kudos to you on the good work that you're doing. I'm curious to get your thoughts on, on the outset of this discussion, why you feel like this idea of mindfulness practices, consciouson, why that's so important in today's world, and why it could be a game changer for organizations.
On a high level, my belief that is if we don't become a more conscious culture, we won't have a planet to live on. So that's point number one. But underlying that is this pervasive element which has been in our society for some time and exacerbated by COVID, which is we're a highly stressed society. We don't know how to turn the on button off. We've lost abilities to connect with ourselves and with others in a world where we're sort of always chasing something, and that is leading to a mental health crisis. And it's leading to just tremendous societal costs. So as my wife, who's the one that got me into this field, said to me, she got me involved, and I got introduced to Bridge Builders 9 years ago, when we saw the science behind, contemplative practice, mindfulness, et cetera, get to a point where we wanted to find companies to invest in that space. And what we actually found, Jonathan, is that while we were very early in our thesis, once that science was there, organizations actually were desperately looking for this as a way to help their people. So we started seeing mindfulness becoming, embedded in education systems, in corporations, increasingly in insurance companies, healthcare systems, the military, et cetera, because the need is just so great. And as well, the cost benefit of spending 10 minutes in silence and, just trying to connect with yourself and observe your thoughts versus being overpowered by them actually provided a great deal of healthcare benefits at no cost, with with almost negligible side effects.
Yeah, it's interesting. Something as simple as just taking a mental break, sitting in silence, calming your mind for 5-10 minutes, something as simple as that the impact that it can have on a whole range of outcomes for individuals, for teams, and for organizations is tremendous. And this, like you said, the science is backing this up. So it's not just this woo-woo kind of new age philosophy that people are espousing. It's real science. It has real impacts, and it, I mean, in a variety of ways, it helps us recenter ourselves. It gives us a chance to be self-reflective. It gives us a chance to even just the mere fact that you're taking a mental break to recharge and then tackle, the challenge at hand, anew. In today's knowledge economy, we don't need people who can just kind of push through physical fatigue to produce widgets. We need people to think abstract, complex thoughts, to innovate, to be creative. And that is very mentally taxing. And you simply can't maintain a high level of that kind of concentration and that kind of mental focus indefinitely. You have to take breaks. Otherwise, you're depleted, and whatever you produce will not be as good. So it seems like a no-brainer. Yet we still see a lot of resistance from a lot of organizations, and a lot of leadership styles aren't really connected with this kind of an approach. They want people to be on task. They don't want people to be wasting time, so on and so forth. What have you seen, as the best way to tackle that kind of a mindset, which I see as really an old school management mindset that sprung out of the Industrial Revolution, but we're past that, right? We're in the fourth Industrial Revolution now. We're a knowledge economy. And how do we get past that?
For people who choose to look at other people as objects, which is what you're describing, in a patriarchal system where people just want you to perform and really don't care about you as a human being, you still can get at those people through science and through healthcare costs. And, the science is increasingly showing that, if you're able to pause and reflect and get centered, you're going to be better at customer service because you're going to listen to people more. You're going to be more resilient when somebody comes at you. And so there's going to be less conflict in the workplace. So, in general, I just say we should be treating each other as human beings. But for those people, in that old style, there actually is pretty good science. And actually, what I would say is that I'm seeing is that companies who don't adopt or at least provide people options to engage in these practices, they're going to lose the younger workforce. People are not going to come and be treated the way that they were during the Industrial Revolution. So,
yeah, and that's an interesting point. I think sometimes millennials and Gen Z individuals get a bit of a bad rap in the workforce because they're framed as, they're stereotyped as being entitled. And I suppose, there may be some of that, and some of that's just a matter of growth and maturity, right? Like every generation deals with some of that to a certain extent, and you mature and you grow out of it. But a lot of what I think people identify as like entitlement amongst young millennial workers or Gen Z workers, I don't see it that way at all. I just see it as them holding their management and their leadership accountable for good practices. They have high expectations for how they should be treated as human beings, and they're not willing to put up with the crap that previous generations may have been willing to put up with earlier in their career. And I think that's a good thing personally.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I also think that they're so much, mission oriented, more mission oriented than previous generations, and that even existing companies with existing, products, they better be more focused around a mission, and they better be true to that mission, because in today's world, when you're not true to those mission, they won't just hold you accountable in the office, they'll hold you accountable in public, and the public will hold you accountable to those missions. So I think, overall, that this leads all the way to consumers caring about how companies treat other companies, and whether or not they have diverse diverse workforces that are treated equally and paid equally. I mean, this is all just happening, and to a certain extent, when you pause and reflect and take some time and just think about it, like, yeah, that all makes sense. We should just be treating each other. We have this one life to live. Why would we be busy treating other people like dirt when we could be treating them with kindness and compassion and holding them accountable at the same time?
Yeah, exactly. And those aren't mutually exclusive philosophies or principles, right? Oftentimes they get portrayed that way in a false dichotomy, and they're just simply not mutually exclusive. And in fact, the opposite is true. Like, you can see, if you want to hold people accountable and get good results, the best way to do it, research has shown, the best way to do that is to make sure that you have a proactive, positive relationship with your people, that they feel empowered, that they have autonomy, that they have connection to the meaning and purpose behind their work, so on and so forth, right? It's not micromanaging. It's not kind of the old school model that might have worked okay on the assembly line, but it just doesn't work in the knowledge economy and in this rapid pace of technological disruption and innovation. Like, we just have to be much more fluid. We have to be much more iterative and quick in our learnings, and that just can't happen through a leader having that much involvement, their fingers in all the business of everyone that's on their team. So you do a lot of work then with transformation. We've talked about consciousness, we've talked about reflection, we've talked about mindfulness practices. How does that then connect to transformation of self, and how does that lead us to being more authentic personally in our own lives, but also within the workplace?
Well, if we have the willingness to look at least in my own experience, when we have the willingness to look at some of the patterns that we have that are conditioned from our childhood, or stories that our community told us, or that we learned in school, and these very old patterns which are not authentic, but they're conditioned into us. And if you're, in a lot of cases, it's looking at our family systems and the dysfunction that we experience, early in our life. And if you're able to look at that and sort of say, oh, how is that manifested? Like, looking inwards, like, okay, so when I look inward, what really fuels me? What's my authentic purpose? And if you, and how am I manifesting in that in the world? And then, you're taking a look at the things around your life, et cetera, and what are things that you're, that work for you and that don't work for you. And it takes people to support you to go through this process. It's not just a solo journey, but the more you're willing to go, inward and look at, the things that create suffering, and then to change those stories or behaviors or patterns. At least in my own experience, I found I got deeper into understanding who I was. Why am I here? What do I resonate with? What do I no longer resonate with that I actually have to let go of? And my sense, my own experience, that's led to a much more fulfilling life where I'm living in my purpose, and I am working and in friendship with people that really resonate with that, as opposed to just people that have sort of accumulated or something like that over my life. So I think for those willing to take that journey, it can be a really difficult journey, and I can just say, people that I know that come out the other side are much more fulfilled, happy, feeling like their life has purpose, etc.
Yeah. And, as I hear you describing your experience, I think of how difficult it is for anyone to test and challenge their assumptions on the world, to take a step back, to look at their beliefs, their values, their way of connecting with people through relationships, whether that be personally, interpersonally, at home or in the workplace. That's hard. That's hard inner work, and that's makes a lot of people very uncomfortable. People like consistency. They like predictability. They like certainty. And what you're describing is anything but those things. but it's enriching because you start to learn, like you said, to live for yourself, not for others. So you're not living to try to get the approval of other people or to do what you think they want you to do, because, and oftentimes for quite arbitrary reasons, right? Just for conformity to the group or whatever. And there's so much more than that. And I'm not saying you have to like get rid of all of your values and beliefs from your upbringing, but there is more in the world than what we knew as children, and it's simply a matter of learning and growing and developing into functioning adults. That we're going to be exposed to new things, and we need to find ways to incorporate those into our understanding of the world. And so for me, as I think about trying to be my authentic self, and going through that personal transformation, I feel like I've had similar types of experiences as you're describing. And I think, that isn't always pleasant work, but it's good work that ultimately allows me to be more centered personally, but also connect with other people. When I'm authentic with myself, I'm able to have more authentic connections with others, rather than you termed it as accumulating people. I think of, unfortunately, far too often, earlier in my life, relationships were more about utility. What can I get out of this relationship with another person, as opposed to what can I give to this other person? How can I support this other person through our relationship? And there's nothing wrong with reciprocal professional relationships where you're mutually helping each other. There's nothing wrong with that, but that doesn't lead to like fulfillment and a sense of purpose and joy. Like some of those types of emotions come as we work for others, and so I think as leaders in organizations, we can have that same mindset. We can have a servant leader mindset where we're committed to helping every single person on our team maximize their potential, fulfill their greatest potential, and empower them and support them to become better than we are as leaders, so that they can contribute the best way they're capable of. And that means we will be successful as leaders if we do that. That's a nice byproduct, but it also means that regardless of the performance and the outcomes, that we're treating others as human beings that have innate value, regardless of their outputs. And when we are with people that way, that creates stronger, more trusting relationships that just have all sorts of positive outcomes.
Yeah, it's interesting. So so we're all on these different journeys, and just as I was listening to you, a difference that I had than you were describing was I actually grew up in every relationship that I can think back to that I had, I was giving more than I was receiving. In fact, I was conditioned to not ask, to always be giving. So the transformation for me was more about, okay, so how do I look at it and say, I actually want reciprocal relationships. I don't want anything more than giving or receiving. But all of those relationships in the past, had been based on, just trying to serve them, make them happy, whatever. And, in an organizational setting, as a leader, as someone who, has run several companies, I'd say, we can hold space for people to be their authentic self. We can encourage them. We can invite them, but you can't lead them there. but you can create a culture of accountability. And if they don't fit into that, and if they don't choose, that they want to be in that type of a culture, then you can, gracefully support them, to leave to find something that does resonate with them. But I found that whenever I've tried to force this on people, I'm really good at holding the invitation. I'm really good at supporting people through the process of being authentic. It can be hard for people, but whenever I try to force someone down that path, never goes well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's absolutely true. So we create environments where people can feel safe, right? To explore, to be their authentic self, to practice mindfulness, and to have those types of authentic, meaningful connections with each other. And that is the best we can do. We can't, I often think about leadership, and sometimes people say leaders motivate their people. No, leaders don't motivate anybody. Leaders create an environment in which people can be motivated. It's a big difference. And what you're describing is the same thing. I can't force anyone to question their assumptions of the world. All I can do is help people understand that I'm a safe person, and that I'm there to support them. And then some people will choose to go down that path and others won't. Well, Charlie, it has been a real pleasure. This time has flown by, and we're about out of time. But before we close today, and perhaps I can have you back again sometime to continue the discussion. Before we close today, I wanted to give you a chance to share with listeners how they can get connected with you, find out more about what you're doing, and perhaps reach out if they need any assistance.
Yeah. So the Bridge Builders, website is bbcollaborative.com. So you can see the types of investments that we've made in the space. My wife and my business is called the Shifted Institute. That's shifted.com. That's about igniting consciousness, inspiring human potential, and creating paradigm shifts. That's where I do my work from Bridge Builders out of that business. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, just Charlie Hartwell. I'm on Twitter. You can find me at Charlie Hartwell as well. And that's the best places to find me. I do have a Medium blog where I write about insights that I have from investing in this space that we've been investing in startup companies over the last 9 years. So that's another place to find me.
Charlie, again, it's been a real pleasure. Since you are in Utah, we should meet up sometime in person and actually have a face-to-face conversation. But I hope listeners have enjoyed this dialogue. I hope everyone will check out Charlie on LinkedIn, get connected, see what he might be able to do for you and your organization. And I hope everyone continues to stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope everyone has a great week.
We are excited about the launch of HCI's new magazine, Human Capital Leadership. Human Capital Leadership is a free, interactive e-magazine designed to help individuals, leaders, and organizations find innovative approaches to maximize their human capital potential. We will be publishing issues quarterly in August, November, February, and May. Check out the first issue and let us know what you think. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe and that you have a great week. Check out our new weekly LinkedIn newsletter, Alchemizing Human Capital, exploring industry trends via original research and interviews with executives and thought leaders from across the globe. We look forward to having you join us.